The Earl and Countess of Dumbarton visited New York today. Now, I don't say that to put down the beautiful people of Dumbarton or the gorgeous area that they live in. I do it just to annoy Harry and Meghan just a little bit because they've managed to make me a little bit furious. Now, why is that? Well, let's cut straight to the chase. Harry made this unbelievable, inane statement when he appeared at his summit to represent parents that have genuinely suffered terrible loss through their child's use of social media. He called on tech companies to not post anything online that they wouldn't want their own children to see. Now, he obviously thought up this brain fart on the private plane on the way over and thought, well, that sounds good. That's a good sound bite. That turns me into a hero. Well, Harry, it just really insults the parents that you're supposed to be representing. If you are going to genuinely represent someone that has suffered enormous pain, enormous hurt, and genuine loss through their child's use of social media, you need to come up with a cohesive argument. You need to put the time in to think about real solutions. You need to put money into people thinking up ways to safeguard children and their use of social media. Now, there are many safeguards, and as the tech companies say, guardrails already in place. All it takes is for parents to educate themselves about those safeguards and use them if they wish. I have used them in the bringing up of my children. When they were young teens, we had a few ground rules. For example, I didn't allow Snapchat, purely from the point of view that if someone can send you a message and it can disappear, well, then they are not going to be held accountable for what they said. I explained that to my children. I said, when you're old enough to realize the implications of that, you can go ahead and have it. So from the age of 16, they had the choice to have Snapchat if they wished. They chose not to. But from the ages of 12 to 16, that was my viewpoint. If a message disappears, people cannot be held accountable. Therefore, that is not safe for you at the moment because you don't have the experience to be discerning. I also had another safeguard in place. We had a family account. So whenever they downloaded apps on their phone, they appeared on my phone. So I could go up and talk to them about that. What is this insidious, horrible app you have just installed on your phone? What is its purpose and what are you doing with it? And we would have the subsequent discussion. So we had things like filters, and we had 18 plus content and material turned off. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can even put network safeguards so that your children in your home can only access, safe, age-appropriate material. It is all there. But no, Harry's solution is to say to tech companies, oh, don't put up anything that you wouldn't want your own children to see. I mean, let's go through the total lack of thought, intellect, and the inaneness of this proposal. The only way it could possibly be achieved would be that if all content that was being uploaded to that platform was checked on the bar that the owner of that platform or the person in charge of that platform wouldn't want their own kids to see that material, which again would be completely subjective, depending on their political views, depending on their life experience, depending on their religious views, depending on their worldview, depending whether they lived in a democracy or not. That would influence what they would want their children to see. And their viewpoint might match what I want my children to see. So you see, Harry, it was a stupid statement and no one is questioning you on it. Yet again, the mainstream press just regurgitate the Archewell press release. And that's going all around the world. And in their so-called summit with the Surgeon General, we didn't get to see a vigorous Q&A. We didn't get to see any sort of debate or sensible argument about what they were trying to propose. We didn't even get to hear those poor parents and their stories. All we heard was Meghan's reaction to their stories and how they made her cry. Well, that's very laudable, but it doesn't inform us of what the problem is. They also made a big hairy deal about the fact that they brought these parents together through Archwell into a group over Zoom so they could connect. Well, Harry, Meghan, the purpose of social media is to connect people. That is the positive aspect of social media. It enables people to connect. It enables people to brainstorm and come up with new ideas and to think of new ways to tackle things and to argue things and to debate things. Another way you can protect your children is to teach them how to think. When my children ever came out and said something that they saw on social media and they only had one side of the argument, even if I agreed with that side of the argument, I would say to them, what's the other side to that? What's the other side to that saying? And they would tell me, and I'd say, do you think that's a good argument? If you were arguing for that other side and you stripped all emotion away from it, what arguments could you make that are based in fact that could convince the opposing side? Have a think about it. Now strip away the emotion from the side you agree with and check their facts and do some more research. See whether what they're saying is valid. Are they making any claims that can be backed up? Make sure they can back them up by doing your own research. Things like that. Because it doesn't reduce children to victims. It teaches them how to think. And parental safeguards until they're old enough and have enough experience to filter all this is a good idea. I really do agree. But accepting a big brother solution where tech companies are going to filter material and decide whether they would want their own children to see that material, in other words, censorship, is alarming. It is terrifying because there is so little thought being put into it. Democracies are chaotic. They are not pretty. They are not peaceful. They are loud. They are argumentative. They can sometimes be very, very ugly. But that is what a democracy is. It's vibrant. It's fiery. There's a lot of things in it that we don't like, that we have to look at. And aren't we lucky we get to do that? So if I was their publicist, just to wrap up, and if they really wanted to make effective change to safeguard children's mental health, well then I would have had a true panel, a true summit. I would have had the parents that have suffered telling their stories so we could find out how it happened. What steps did they take to mitigate that happening? Could they have done anything? Were there things that they think if they were put in place it might have saved their child? Now, I would be prepared to listen to them very, very carefully. I would be prepared to listen to their ideas. And also the PR schmaltz of visiting a tech school before they do this summit with their calls for censorship. It was so blatantly obvious. Look, everybody, we support tech, but we want it to run the way we want it to run. And also the off-the-shoulder top was meant to take us back to their previous trip to New York, where she wore a similar outfit, or at least the top of the outfit was similar, to the Ripple of Hope Awards. It was designed to take us back. Everything Meghan does has a calculation to it. But I just wanted to come on and talk to you about it and say the Duke and Duchess of Lazy need to put some real work in. They need to really examine the issues. They need to pay for teams that can come up with real-world solutions that are beneficial to people. But these sort of victim-based sound bites that they put out to us all via their press releases that are regurgitated without question by the press, I think is alarming. Because these sort of inane ideas, they gather momentum. And somebody has to question them and challenge them and say, what are you really after here? How do you propose for this to go forward? What are your practical ideas to implement this? It's just, I don't know why they get as much attention as they do. So I wanted to produce a counter-argument just to get it up there, out into the ether, to combat the Earl and Countess of Dumbarton. I'll see you tonight for my Gossip Before Bed, where we won't have to talk about Harry and Meghan. See you then. Bye.